I guarantee you don't know just how weird and fascinating U.S. geography is. Here are incredible facts that will blow your mind about the geography of the United States. 1. The state that's both the easternmost and westernmost. Let's start with one of the most mind-boggling facts. The state that holds the title of both the easternmost and westernmost in the U.S. is none other than Alaska. How is that possible? The Aleutian Islands, a long chain of volcanic islands extending from Alaska into the Pacific Ocean, crosses the 180th meridian, an imaginary line that separates the eastern and western hemispheres. Because some of the islands lie west of this line, Alaska is technically in both hemispheres, making it the easternmost and westernmost state at the same time. While most people associate the easternmost U.S. point with Maine, geography tells a different story. 2. The closest state to Africa. You might assume that Florida, the southeasternmost state, is the closest to Africa, but in reality, it's Maine. Specifically, Quoddy Head, Maine, is roughly 3,154 miles from El Ain, Morocco, whereas Miami, Florida, is about 4,025 miles away from the same point. This surprising quirk is due to the curvature of the Earth and how the continents are positioned. While Florida is much farther south, Maine's location farther east makes it geographically closer to Africa. 3. The 80-20 population divide. The United States has a strikingly uneven population distribution. If you draw a line just west of San Antonio, Texas, you'll find that about 80% of the country's population lives east of it, while only 20% lives to the west. This divide is due to both historical settlement patterns and geography. The eastern half of the country includes densely populated urban centers like New York, Chicago, and Washington, D.C., while the western half, despite having large cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco, is dominated by vast deserts, rugged mountains, and wilderness. Much of the land west of this line consists of national parks and protected areas, making large-scale settlement difficult. The 4th least populated state. Speaking of low population density, the least populated state in the U.S. is Wyoming, with only about 580,000 residents, fewer people than some major cities. Despite its vast land area, Wyoming remains largely rural, with more cattle than people. 5. The state with more coastline than California. When you think of coastal states, California likely comes to mind, but Alaska actually has more coastline than all the other U.S. states combined. Alaska boasts over 6,640 miles of coastline, while California has only 840 miles. If you include inlets and islands, Alaska's total tidal shoreline reaches a staggering 33,900 miles. 6. The only U.S. state with no straight borders. Almost every U.S. state has at least some straight-line borders except Hawaii. Since it consists entirely of islands, all of its borders are naturally curved and defined by the ocean. 7. The largest and smallest states by area. The largest U.S. state by area is Alaska, covering 663,267 square miles, nearly twice the size of Texas. On the other hand, the smallest state is Rhode Island, which is only 1,034 square miles. To put that into perspective, you could fit Rhode Island into Alaska over 500 times. 8. A town that's in 2 states at once. There's a town called Bristol that exists in both Virginia and Tennessee at the same time. The state border runs directly through the middle of downtown Bristol, meaning one side of the street is in Virginia and the other is in Tennessee. The city even has 2 separate governments. 9. The state that contains the geographic center of North America. The geographic center of North America is located in the small town of Rugby, North Dakota. A monument marks this spot though geographers debate whether the true center is a few miles away due to more precise modern calculations. 10. The state with the most lakes. You might assume Minnesota, known as the land of 10,000 lakes, holds the record for the most lakes in the U.S., but it's actually Alaska. The state has more than 3 million lakes, vastly outnumbering any other state. 11th, a river that flows north. Most rivers flow south due to gravity, but the Chicago River is one of the few that flows backward, northward. In the 1900s, engineers reversed its direction to prevent pollution from contaminating Lake Michigan, a vital source of drinking water. 12. The state where you can be in 4 states at once. At 4 corners, you can stand in Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico at the same time. This unique spot is the only place in the U.S. where 4 states meet at a single point. 13. The only state with a 1-syllable name. Out of all 50 states, only Maine has a single-syllable name. 14th, the longest state. California is long, but the longest state from end to end is actually Alaska. From north to south, Alaska stretches over 1,400 miles, farther than any other state. 15, the most northerly, westerly, and easterly points in the U.S. The northernmost point in the U.S. is Point Barrow, Alaska. The westernmost point is Attu Island, Alaska, and, as mentioned earlier, the easternmost point is also in Alaska because of the Aleutian Islands crossing into the eastern hemisphere. 16. A desert that gets snow. The Great Basin Desert in Nevada, despite being an arid landscape, regularly gets snow in the winter. Unlike most deserts, it has cold temperatures due to its high elevation. 17. A town that's always frozen. The coldest town in the U.S. is Barrow, Alaska, now called Utqiagvik, where the temperature averages below freezing for most of the year. The sun also sets for about 65 days straight in winter. 18. The deepest lake in the U.S. Crater Lake in Oregon is the deepest lake in the United States, with a depth of 1,943 feet. It was formed by the collapse of a volcanic caldera and is known for its stunningly clear blue water. 19. A state without a natural lake. Despite its many rivers, Maryland has no natural lakes. All its lakes are man-made reservoirs. 20. The largest cave system in the world. The Mammoth Cave System in Kentucky is the longest cave system on Earth, stretching over 400 miles and still being explored. 21st, California's vertical extremes. California is a land of contrasts, home to both the highest and lowest points in the contiguous U.S. Towering at 14,505 feet, Mount Whitney scrapes the sky, while Badwater Basin in Death Valley plunges 279 feet below sea level. Even more astonishing, these two opposites sit less than 100 miles apart, making California's landscape one of the most dramatically varied in the country. 22nd, Connecticut's vanishing counties. Unlike most states, Connecticut operates without county governments. Back in 1959 and 1961, legislation stripped the state's 8 counties of their administrative power, leaving them as mere geographical markers. This means no county budgets, no county sheriffs, just town-run governance, a rarity in the U.S. 23rd. Delaware, the national park rebel. Delaware marches to the beat of its own drum, being the only U.S. state without a designated unit in the national park system. No national parks, no national monuments, just a different approach to preserving its historical and natural gems. 24. Michigan, the two-piece state. Michigan is the only U.S. state made up of 2 peninsulas, the upper and lower, separated by the Straits of Mackinac. These distinct landmasses give Michigan the longest freshwater coastline in the U.S., touching 4 of the 5 Great Lakes and offering endless scenic beauty. 25. The Great Lakes shoreline giant. With its massive freshwater coastline, Michigan outshines even California when it comes to shore length. It borders Lakes Superior, Michigan, Huron, and Erie, creating a diverse aquatic wonderland for nature lovers and adventurers alike. And there you have it, some of the weirdest and most fascinating facts about U.S. geography. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more mind-blowing facts. Let us know in the comments which fact surprised you the most. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.